So what do you guys need to know in the month of May? Let's get one card for that. The moon again. Wow. Okay. The moon family. So, what you need to know is that everything is open to interpretation. Everything's open to exploration. Nothing is set in stone. Life is not predetermined. I don't believe in predetermined or predestination, or no sort of. I don't believe in such thing as a life path. If that makes sense. I feel like the situation is blurred at the moment. There's nothing. There's a lot that you need to know, but there's also ones that you have to experience through the month of May. You can't be, the cards will not tell you specifically, because I feel like there's a lot. And it has to do with being vulnerable. It has to do with tackling situations and really coming to yourself as a source of, as a tool, right? As a resource, and not necessarily coming to other people for resources. That's why the moon is so prominent in this reading. You have to trust yourself and where you're going. And a lot of times, you're not going to know where you're going. A lot of times, you're not going to have a clue why you're going down that direction in the first place, but you're going to at least try it because you know that this is going to, because if that direction isn't necessarily benefiting you in the long run, you can always change courses. You trust yourself to change the course. You learned to trust yourself. The moon is telling you it's time to trust yourself, no matter what comes up. All right. Why is the moon coming up for Libra as to what they need to know? Why is the moon coming up for them? Guys, too many freaking cards. Like, they gave me like a boatload. I'm sure there's a lot, but I need it one at a time. Why does the moon come up for the... See again, the Lovers. But, the King of Swords did come up. So this has a lot to do with your love lives, guys. Maybe I don't need to pull a, what do I need to know about, how's this impacting your love life? What is this, specifically? What does it have to do with your love life? Well, the Lovers is coming up. So this has to do with moving forward in relationships, in connectivity, and how you guys see romantic situations, and how you guys accept your love and accept someone else's, especially for who they are. Because the Lovers is 100% acceptance. It's not necessarily accepting the other person for who they are. It's about accepting your love, period. Because a lot of times, right, what we do as air signs, we kind of get a little doubtful. Like, okay, we're starting to catch feelings. Why are we catching feelings? What is up? Is this me that I'm seeing, or is this, is this me, drumming things up, or is this legitimate? Am I really feeling love for this person? And I feel like right now the moon has completely, I don't think it's showing you the illusions. I feel like you are surrounded by illusions here, and what you have to look through beyond the situation is with the trueness of love that pierces through. It's really weird, I know, but I feel like the situation is masked. I don't know if the person that you're dealing with is just as confused as you are, but there's a lot of confusion that you have to expect in the month of May. A lot of things that are not as clear, but the only thing that's going to help you through is by seeing through the BS, seeing and trusting what you know is BS, trusting your intuition. But the Lovers are saying that the reason why the moon is coming up is because your relationships may be the ones that are on trial at the moment, the ones that are kind of confusing, the ones that don't really make a lot of sense. Why is the Lovers coming up as to why the moon is, what Libra needs to know? Oh wow, the World. You're starting to look like Virgo right now with all these major arcana cards coming up. Like, for what? Like, they had all major arcana cards, 4 major arcana cards coming out. Now, the World. Now, the reason, okay. Now, the moon's coming up to tell us what you need to know for the month of May. The Lovers is telling us, why the moon is coming up. Well, it's because this is about love, accepting someone at face value, accepting your love at face value. It's not about dreams and fantasy. I think this is truly to eliminate any sort of illusions that we have regarding romance, right? Because the World is talking about an evolution. It's about ending a cycle, evolving. I think the one thing that we have to look at when it comes to the month of May is that when we love someone, are we loving the idea of being in love with them, or are we in love with the person truly? Because I feel like the reason why the relationship is in a weird place is because we were in love with an idea, not necessarily the person itself. I think we do love the person, but we love the idea more. So we have to see the situation for what it truly is, and it's hard to do when it comes with the moon because you also have to go through all the illusion, all the things that may not necessarily be real. You have to go and weed through all that, and the world is coming up to kind of put an end to what does not match up to the reality of a situation. Okay? Some of you guys may be dealing with a Libra. Oh gosh, a Gemini. Guys could be dealing with those three too. I don't know why they popped out, but they did. You guys could be definitely dealing with possibly a Gemini though, or maybe someone that has an issue with accepting themselves as well. Okay? It could be that this person is just as confused as you are regarding how everything is supposed to be. But working together is another one of the things that comes up. I feel like there's a lot of confusion and you're doing this with another person. You don't have to do it alone. I think you can do it with someone else. I think there's somebody around you that can help you with this. Whether this is a lover or this is a friend or this is a family member. There's somebody around you that can help you. There's a soulmate energy around you. But it's going to help you to trust yourself and to weed yourself through a time of unclarity, okay? So, let's see. Okay. I don't know why the Five of Cups came out. Why is the Five of Cups coming out for... Well, what is the Five of Cups coming out for? What is that supposed to tell us about the rest of this reading? That's an interesting one to come out, because I didn't even ask a question yet. Why is the Five of Cups coming out? You got a minor arcana card already. No, that's too many cards. It's half the doggone deck. Why is the Five of Cups coming out? The High Priestess. Okay. What the hell is going on? So the Five of Cups is coming out because of the High Priestess. Alright, let me just do it this way. Because of the High Priestess. Now, we have two cards that would indicate secrets or things not being communicated. But the Five of Cups talks about losses or things that are missing. And, I think there's a feminine aspect to this that's missing from this. Because the High Priestess is such a feminine energy, so is the moon. And I feel like there's a piece of you that has to just trust the direction that you're going. And not necessarily look so hard at what's not there. Because I think the situation is telling you to have faith and not be so hell-bent on fixing what can't be fixed. Okay? So I think there's something going on in your life that cannot necessarily be fixed. You just have to work on solutions to deal with it, to handle it better, to thrive with it. Because right now, there's a lot of mourning, there's a lot of feeling of loss, there's a lot of feeling, of not having what you want or losing what you had. But I don't think you ever had it, to be honest with you. Just by the way the reading is looking. I think it's a realization that what you were holding on to was something from the past, and it never really, I don't think it necessarily manifested with this situation, with the circumstance. And I feel like, in a way, you kind of know that. But then at the same time, I kind of feel like also, like I said, there may be something that you've lost, and you just have to let that flow. Where you have to let that energy kind of surge through you. You may have actually physically lost something, or maybe you may be missing someone or missing something, understand and mourn for what this is, right? I understand that life doesn't exist without death, and death doesn't exist without life. And this situation is something that does require patience and time to let flow through you. I feel like this is one of those things that's coming up for that. Interesting. How does this affect Libra's love life specifically? How does this situation affect Libra's love life specifically? Okay. That's too many cards again. Okay, the Tower. Unexpected changes and events coming up, or making changes yourself that you didn't really necessarily intend to happen so urgently, but it has. But let's see, why does the Tower come up? Why is the Tower coming up for Libra's love life? Okay, the Eight of Cups. Ooh. So some of you guys may be maybe there's some sort of epiphany, right? Maybe something that's kind of reached its end, or reached its peak, and you're ready to kind of move on. All right, why is the Eight of Cups coming up for the Tower? Because of the Temperance card. Now you guys are real interesting today, because Temperance is Sagittarius and Lovers is Gemini. So you have two opposites in this reading already. But okay, so focusing on your needs, getting a balance in your situation, noticing what doesn't satisfy you, and figuring out an option, or figuring out what does make you happy. I think there's obviously something here that doesn't make you happy. And I feel like what you lost here is something that's definitely a big emphasis in this reading here. I think you guys, may not know what to do because you've lost something very dear to you. And it's hard to accept that, I feel like. I think there has been some sort of evolution in your relationship here. But trusting yourself is one of the biggest things that's needed, because the Lovers isn't necessarily about two people. It's about really one person, and not the stereotype, but the usual explanation for the Lovers has to do with making a decision or making a choice. And I feel like with the Lovers, when it comes up like this, it's not necessarily about making a choice. Like I said, it's about acceptance. It's about surrendering to the connection, surrendering to the emotions that are being felt. But I think, when the mind comes up, right, with all these equations and all these reasons or variables or whatever they come up with, right, or doubts and stuff like that, it's to protect you, right? It's always to protect you. The brain always does that to protect us as a survival mechanism. It's something that we can never change necessarily, right? What we have to do, we're born with that kind of reasoning, right? Or we're taught to reason in such a way that it doesn't necessarily encourage growth, but puts us in a situation to doubt growth so that we don't, fail. It's about survival, right? I feel like right now you're learning to trust yourself, or learning to see a situation in a different light. Learning to take a situation from its lowest stage and see it from the stage of thrival, like I said. Okay? And I feel like with Temperance coming up to explain why the Eight of Cups is coming up, I feel like it has to do with figuring out what your needs are. Balancing your life out so that way you can trust any direction that you decide to go. No matter what turn of events come up. I almost kind of feel like this month you may get blindsided. You may be blindsided by something, but I don't think anything too terrible. But I don't think something happens. I think something misses, or something happens, or you lose something, but you still have something to work with. You still have things to help you get to a place of balance and potential happiness. But it starts by trusting that you can handle situations that you don't see coming, and you can overcome a lot of the doubts and insecurities and fears that you have already. Because the moon can indicate insecurities and fears too, right? A feeling of being intimate and connecting with someone, feeling vulnerable with another. Or the biggest thing here too could be that the biggest fear that you have, and like I said, has to do with trusting yourself in any direction that you go. That's a hard one, fam. Let's go ahead and take a look at the outcome of your love life here. Okay, the outcome that you guys have for your love life or the reading period is Judgment. It looks like you guys get a second chance or a second opportunity at something. You've grown a lot from. I think you'll grow a lot from the start of this month to the end, and you'll be met with an opportunity to do something differently. It's going to reflect back on a lot of things that you've already conquered, or a lot of things that you've already faced in your life. And I feel like it's, when it comes to Judgment, you have to kind of trust trust what you know, right? Which is why the High Priestess comes up. Trusting what you know. And not always looking at the failures, but trusting that you've learned from these mistakes and learned from these instances in time to benefit your life in the best way possible, to make the ultimate decision, to make the biggest decision that the major Arcana cards can represent to you, that can convey to you, rather. And they don't necessarily know what that decision is, because everyone's situation is different, but it's going to be big when Judgment comes up. This is a second chance, a second time around. Now, you guys have let the emotions flow, and this talks about being, open to receiving, right? Being open to, to your emotions flowing through you. Being open to, just allowing yourself to feel without any sort of judgment, without any sort of, without any resistance. In order for you to go and navigate through the moon, you have to trust yourself. You have to be open to your emotions. You can't deny them. You can't reject them. And I feel like this is one of those things. You have to, be open emotionally to receive the messages that need to come through. And I feel like too, if you have any pains that you have been suppressing and keeping quiet, you may have to just communicate that to somebody, or communicate that, or or cry it out. But no longer hold this loss in. No longer hold this doubt in. Express your doubt. Not reason with it, but to, really kind of understand where the doubt comes from so it can be truly healed.